Hey, you. Yeah, you. You're here to learn about Playfield design. And if you're not, get the fuck out. And if you can't tell already, I'm winging this entire video, and if you're watching this, it's probably not for you. But you can watch it anyway, I guess. Because I can't really control that. Take a look over here. You'll see my baby right here. 1979 Bally Star Trek. As you can tell, the colors are a little bit not great choice because you can't tell one bit what's going on here. So we're just going to go, hey, look at that. You can actually see all the elements. I have no idea what I'm doing, but we're going to do it. Least important part we're going to start with is this. The shooter lane. Doesn't really matter that much. It's just got to get the ball up here. But where it goes, this top area here, very important. This is what everybody loves, even though they don't realize it. This little bit of gambling. That's right, gambling. You can't really control this, which one it goes in, but it definitely affects your game, and it should affect your game. If it does not affect your game, you're doing something wrong. This little bit up here should only be accessible in two ways. Number one, the shooter rod. And number two, a special access lane. That's a very good way to keep this not a very common accessible area, but still something that can affect the game. It feeds in this way over here, which these two, I know words. These two switches, that's right, these are switches. You probably hate me. These two switches here, they do some very important stuff on this game. They control this bonus here, and once you get this bonus, this can actually get you an extra ball, which is a very cool gameplay mechanic if you can actually incorporate. Extra balls are very loved. Over here we got letters. These letters spell out something down here, which is another very common gameplay mechanic here. Although gameplay mechanics are a totally different thing, we're not here for that, so I'm going to stop talking about that. We're here for layout. Another cool mechanic, which is kind of rare, is this, which is actually a feeder to go back into the shooter lane to get you another attempt. And this on this game is actually very special because there's a switch here. If you get it through here, what happens is it ends up counting down your bonus, which scores you a lot of points, and then it actually gives it back. On this game, it is labeled as Time Warp, since it's a Star Trek thing. I guess that's a Star Trek thing. I never watched Star Trek. I'm a little bit too young for that. That's okay. Just below here, just below the top area, we have very common, the triad of thumper bumpers. Very common piece, although in Lego it's going to be kind of hard to make one of those. But very common, very good piece to have on your playfield. Shit. Over here is the second most important part. This giant area is the main area. Okay? This should be a nice big empty space with nothing in it. And the reason is very important because you need to be able to have all this nice space to line up these shots going all across the playfield to every single one of your other components. If there's something in the way, that's going to make it a lot harder to get that ball from point A to point B. This is very important to have this empty. Now, of course, you have to fight that is then if you have too much empty, then you don't have enough game. So there is a happy medium of emptiness to also busyness. And as long as you can get your ball from point A to point B fairly easily from any part of here, you're going to be doing pretty good. Another thing is something you don't really realize until you've played thousands of times. And let's say these drop targets right here, another very cool element to incorporate. You can see these are at a very slight angle. And you may not think much of that. But these angles allow bounces. So if you shoot from here, it's going to bounce over here and up here. That's pretty sweet. And the main thing to bounce here is into the thumper bumpers, adding even more fun. The more action you can get from each flipper stroke equals just more fun. On top of that, that does also allow you to possibly shoot it back up into here as another entrance. Although that's a little more occasional. This over here, you may not think is very important, and it really isn't that important. But what it does do is take up space on the playfield, so you actually have a more full playfield. This could just be nothing. This could just be a whole wall, but it's not. And that is kind of cool that it's not, at least. This doesn't do really anything but give you points on the actual game. I mean, yeah, there's nothing gameplay-wise to it. These kickers down here, these can, these are very well placed, very meaningfully placed. They help with the feeder lanes as well as the out lanes, and they also make it to where the flippers are a bit more comfortable to use, as well as make some autonomous action. So it really just spices up the game. They're the most common thing. I mean, everybody's got them. You know them, you love them. And the most important part. The most fucking important part. Don't forget this. Is flippers. You need these to be perfect. If your flippers suck, your game sucks. If your flippers, especially if you're making a pinball machine, especially out of Lego, if your flippers are not powerful enough, if they do not feel good, people are not going to have fun. Another important thing with flippers is this right here. This gap is very important. If it's too big, ball's just going to go straight down. If it's too small, the game's going to feel too easy. You might want to think that, hey, make it smaller. More easy, more fun, right? It doesn't work that way. You do want it to go down some of the time. As well as when it does come down here, it can feel like you're in more control, whereas if it goes in one of these two out lanes, you really feel like you can't fight that. That's just bad luck and that sucks. Nobody likes that. But, hey man, games gotta make money. Not everybody can be a winner, right? Other angles, you'll see this here. This is a nice angle. You can't tell this right now, but what happens a lot is these two kickers play around with each other. The ball can go from kicker to kicker, and they will launch up into these and back, which means that you don't even have to hit it to here. The gap just happens on its own by the game, and that's not a bad thing, is the game playing itself. That is actually one of the most fun parts, is when the game plays itself. And you don't have to do all the work. This is a very simple but refined playfield. Single level, no ramps, doesn't need them. This is also before ramps were kind of a thing. Ramps and playfields, as well as more levels, adds a whole nother level to the game, literally. I'm so funny, bro. I'm not going to get in there. That's a bit beyond me right now. Yeah, this is what makes the game fun. Again, main things. Flippers, very important. This main area, getting from point A to point B, and sometimes even a point C. Very good to have. This top area with a lot of gameplay. That's good. If you are going to have a ramp, this is where you want it. You want a raised top area. That's usually a good thing to have. If you do a ramp, and this is the most important thing, do not forget this. Ooh. Do not forget this. If you have a ramp, the ramp is utterly useless if your flippers are not strong enough to get it up that ramp. I have played too many games at like pinball fairs and all that, the Pinball Expo. A lot of people make their own games. They get ramps that go up literally 6 to 8 inches. And those flippers cannot consistently get it up the ramp. That is unfortunately not fun. You tried so hard, but at the end of the day, it's too high. If your flipper cannot get the ball up the ramp, that entire section of the playfield is useless. You are missing an entire section of the game. You gotta make sure that the ball can get up the ramp. Not sometimes, all the time. And that sometimes means losing the ramp or making it shorter. Because you can't always make the flipper stronger. Especially, I'm going back to, I think it was the Comet or some Williams game with the first $1 million shot. It had a ramp that you had to shoot it up into the hole. That, when those flippers age, they don't get as strong. And that is one of the shots that no longer becomes available. You can't hit it up there. It is a problem. Other than that, I think that's about it for the basics. You want to have a lot of points where you want to have a lot of points where the ball can go. That's a very important thing. Would you quit that? Let's see. I think I have some videos here. Thumper bumpers coming out. Oh, and another thing, if you can have the bumpers interact from the top area, that's even better. As well as this top area in general. You want, again, going back to like gambling, the lottery. This, you don't know what you're going to get, and you want to capitalize on that. Watch how the ball bounces around before selecting which lane to go in. This is a very critical step. Ignore that commentary. But yeah, this should be a somewhat like nerve-wracking spot, especially when it comes to gameplay, spelling out the letters. It's random chance. You never know what you're going to get. Capitalize on that feeling. A lot of pinball design comes down to how it makes you feel. You want, whenever you're in control of the ball, you want to have control. You want to be able to get it from point A to point B very easily. When you don't have control, you want the game taking as long as it wants, as long as it can, to complete a task. Because that makes it less time that you have to deal with the ball. It may seem counterintuitive that you wouldn't want the machine letting you have the ball. You don't want to lose control of the ball, but as long as you're not losing the ball, it's actually better to have the ball somewhere rather than in your hands. That makes it feel like you're getting more game time per ball, which is another very important thing to have. Your game time per ball should be at least 30 seconds. If the ball is going out faster than that, you need to make it a little harder to go out. At most, it should be about 5 minutes per ball, and that's like the best of the best balls. You don't want to make it so you never lose, because then the game never ends and winning feels almost pointless because it's so easy. You want a challenge. Not so much that you hate playing it, but enough to keep you coming back for more. Another very important thing about design is this. Score. If you do not have a score, a working score, and a meaningful score, your game has basically no replay value other than it's cool. Score is very important to pinball. It has been there day one. Hell, flippers weren't introduced until like 30 years in. And they figured out real quick that flippers were number 2 on importance. But score is the most important part. Because what's the point of a game if you don't know if you're winning? And how much you're winning, too. After all, the game's supposed to be competitive. Other than that, making sure that the rest of your game is speedy and fun. You do want it to take long in certain parts, but other than that, you shouldn't have delays. Your game should be very quick, very responsive. If you can manage all that, and then if you can manage to build all that on a playfield, that's when you can start to worry about making it look good. When it comes to actually designing playfields, the layout comes way before any sort of decoration. So much, in fact, that there have been times where, like even for Bally, for instance, makes a playfield for a certain game, and then they change the game it's used on. They have to do an entire reskin. All the graphics, all of that get changed. But the playfield remains exactly the same. Because at the end of the day, the playfield should be fun, not what it looks like. What it looks like is important to getting you to actually play it. But the playfield keeps you there. And I hope now you won't screw up when designing a playfield, even though most of you aren't, and this is literally for one fucking person who is probably not you. But hi anyway, and also bye.